In today's video, we're diving deep into one of the most talked about ACC matchups of the week, Florida State versus NC State. This game carried massive stakes, momentum, bowl eligibility, program direction, and pressure on both coaching staffs. And in the end, it was NC State who pulled off a gritty and disciplined win, defeating Florida State 21-11. But the final score only tells a piece of the story. This game was packed with missed opportunities, turnovers, defensive stands, and late-game drama. So let's walk through what really happened, why Florida State collapsed again on the road, and how NC State managed to flip its season with this crucial victory. Going into this matchup, both teams were desperate. Florida State had been struggling away from home, not one single road win this season, and riding a long losing streak outside Tallahassee. NC State, on the other hand, was fighting for bowl eligibility and looking for a statement win to regain the confidence of their fan base. So this wasn't just another ACC contest. It was a survival game. A game that could change how both teams end their season, or how their future looks. The first half was all about missed chances for Florida State. FSU actually moved the ball pretty well. They were getting yardage, they were getting drives rolling, but they kept stalling at the worst possible moments. Turnovers quickly became the theme of the night. Dropped passes, forced throws, mental mistakes. It was like every time Florida State built momentum, they handed it right back. Meanwhile, NC State didn't dominate offensively, but they played smart. They protected the ball, maintained field position, and took whatever opportunities Florida State gave them, and there were plenty. By halftime, NC State held the lead, and FSU was already showing signs of another painful road performance. This is where the game really flipped. Florida State continued moving the chains but kept breaking down the moment they approached scoring range. Even though they finished with 383 total yards, they might as well have been empty calories. Lots of yards, very few points. The game-changing sequence came in the fourth quarter. Florida State's special teams completely fell apart. 2 punt return mistakes, back-to-back, gave NC State perfect field position. In a tight game, mistakes like that are basically gifts. NC State didn't waste the opportunity. With under 2 minutes remaining, they punched in the critical touchdown that extended the lead and sealed the win. The Wolfpack stayed calm, stayed disciplined, and didn't force anything. Florida State did the opposite, and it cost them massively. NC State's defense deserves huge credit for this win. Cornerback Devin Marshall was the star of the night. 2 interceptions, multiple pass breakups, and constant pressure on Florida State's receivers. On Florida State's side, the offense had flashes of brilliance, but the turnovers overshadowed everything. The protection was shaky, the decision-making was inconsistent, and the execution under pressure simply wasn't there. Even when FSU finally scored late and converted the 2-point attempt, it felt too late. The damage had already been done. This was a must-win, and they handled business. They moved to 6-5, claiming bowl eligibility and stabilizing their season. The defense looks confident again, and the team finally showed composure in crunch time. This is their 8th straight road loss. Their bowl eligibility is now hanging by a thread. The turnovers and special teams breakdowns highlight major coaching and discipline issues. The fan base is frustrated, and this loss amplifies every concern they've had all year. This game was a perfect example of 2 teams heading in different emotional directions. NC State, steady, composed, opportunistic. Florida State, chaotic, inconsistent, and unable to finish drives. The 21-11 score doesn't look explosive, but it tells a very powerful story. NC State didn't need to dominate, they just needed to avoid the mistakes that Florida State kept making. And honestly, that was the difference. If you enjoyed this full review of the Florida State versus NC State matchup, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe for more breakdowns, game analysis, and weekly reviews. Let me know which game you want me to cover next, and I'll get right on it.